Okay, real progressives. It is Wednesday. It is June 27th. My name is Geoff Ginter. I'm going to give a little bit of time for people to come on. I want you to invite your friends. I want you to invite your enemies if you have any. I want you to invite people you've never met. People you've never met. Share this everywhere. There's something really important that I want to talk about. And there's a lot of reasons why we have to. One of the first things that always gets mentioned whenever we talk about politics, especially modern day politics. It always comes down to tribalism. Who are you? Who do you belong to? I'm a Democrat. I'm a Republican. This is our identifiers. This is what we call ourselves. We no longer identify ourselves as ourselves so much as what tribe we belong to. And I'm telling you, this is not good. This is absolutely, positively antithetical to good public discourse, to the civility that people from time to time keep insisting that we engage in, all while there's an entire history of them not engaging in it themselves. So first and foremost, what I want to ask you, each and every one of you, is who are you? Have you asked yourself that question? Is you and your own personal identity? I know we hate identity politics, but this stuff matters. You have to be able to identify who you are, even if you don't advertise it. Even if you don't start off all conversations by saying that I'm a white man, heterosexual, even if you don't start conversations like that, even if it never comes up in conversation. Do you at least have a good understanding of who you are? What are your core values? What are your core beliefs? What are you going to fight for is what I'm asking. First and foremost, before I know what you do for a living, I don't care what you do for a living. Before I ever know anything about you, I really want to know what are you passionate about? What do you care about? What will you put it all on the line for? Because there are people out there that will fight passionately for their tribe. And whatever their tribe says or does is fine. There are people too busy trying to win. We hear it all the time. We're going to win again. We're going to win again. We're going to win again. I'm here to tell you, as a nation, we've never really won. As a nation, as individuals, sure. Sometimes large swaths of the population get to win, however you define that. But as a nation, we haven't. Not once. Not once. Because every step of the way in the development of this country, people get left out. People get left behind. And if you leave people behind, that's not great. That's not a win. That is a negotiation. That is less than a win, but maybe better than a full-out loss. And if anyone thinks this is good enough, if anyone thinks this is satisfactory enough for a country that is supposed to be great, we have been told since time immemorial in this country that we are Americans, we are exceptional. We are Americans, we can do anything if we work hard enough. Well, people are busting their ass right now. And look at where we are. We're pulling children away from families and we're caging them. I don't give a shit what you call it. They're cages. I don't care if you call them detainment camps. I don't care what you call it. I care what it is. And it has to stop. I care about rampant unemployment. Don't tell me that we have only 4% unemployment and that's full employment. That's 4% of the country that's unemployed. And that is being generous to even give you the 4%. Because I can tell you, it's not. There is rampant unemployment and underemployment. And even if we were actually only at 4% employment, for 4% unemployment. Even if that were true, and it's not, but even if it were, How good are those jobs? And by good, I mean how well do they pay? Is it a living wage? Can people take vacations? Do they have sufficient savings and still be able to participate in the economy? Because I'm telling you, if people can't participate, there is no economy. The economy runs on sales. People have to have disposable cash or they're not going to spend. So for all you people say you got to work hard and you got to earn, you got to be a cheering section for them. You got to make sure that the playing field is level, that everyone has a chance and an opportunity, and it doesn't have to be hard. It shouldn't be hard. Are we a civilized society? This is not the Wild West. Because if they don't have good wages, you miss out as well. You want to be part of this economy. You want America to do great. I'm saying if the bottom rung is doing shit, then we are shit. I am my brother's keeper and my sister's keeper and your brother's keeper. Why aren't you? Why are you settling for less? Why are you settling for less than what can happen? Are you too busy fighting for your tribe? The very mentality of fighting for your tribe precludes the possibility that you could be fighting for everyone. When we fight for single-payer healthcare, we intend to cover everyone. No exceptions. I don't care if you're morally bankrupt. I don't care if I would spend every day of my life yelling at the top of my voice to denounce the things that are coming out at your voice. I still want you to have healthcare. It's important that we expand the reach of what we consider to be our tribe. When you start throwing rocks at each other, remember you're just throwing it at your family. You're just throwing it. Family is a choice. Family extends far beyond the people that were born to the same parents. I love my brothers and sisters. I love them so much. They are not my only family. Expand the definition of family. Expand the definition of love. Try it. Challenge yourself. Can you love your enemy? Automatically, it makes them not an enemy. It turns them into opposition. Opposition can be reasoned with. An enemy has to be defeated. An enemy has to be beaten. How do you think we got here? Look around you at all the pain and suffering that is everywhere. You don't have to go so much as 5 feet to be able to find examples of it. And you think we need to close ranks in small groups and come up with a plan. We got to come up with a plan. I'm not saying don't plan. I'm saying let that plan include everyone. Throw open the floodgates. The possibilities go up the more we include. The possibilities go down the more people we try to keep out. Just imagine all the scenarios you think I might be talking about here. Immigration, employment, education, healthcare, militarism around the world. If you begin in love, and you maintain love as you go through your day, you can have everything. You can have everything. Again, I am not suggesting so much for a second that you don't get angry. I am not suggesting that there are not things to be pushed back on. There are horrific things happening right now and being done in our name, in the name of the United States. That's all of us. There are reasons to clench your fist. There are reasons to raise it into the air. There are reasons to march. There are reasons to write letters. There are reasons to get angry. And I'm encouraging you to do all of that. But not in fear. Not in the fear that there won't be enough. Not in the fear that someone is coming to take something from you. but do it out of the love that you want to be able to not only just simply preserve what is there. That is small thinking. That you want to expand what we have. That we can expand it and share it with the world. Right now, we are doing things in this country, actively, passively, tacitly, explicitly, but things are happening in this country that are exclusively for the privilege of the 1% and the oligarchs. We all work for them, according to them. None of us are going to be the beneficiaries of at least 90% of the output that we do. Don't you think that should change? Don't you think we should expand? Don't you think we should include more? Don't you think we should aspire to more? Don't you think we should be not only aspirational amongst ourselves, but demand aspirations of our leaders? You want to run for president? Be aspirational. Give me a plan. Give me a vision. Give me something to fight for. I do not fight for you. I fight for programs. I fight for policies. But I will fight with you if you can give me a bold vision and a pathway forward. I will not so much as look at you if the only thing you can offer is vote for me, because if you do, you'll be able to keep that one away. Vote for me. I'm better than that person. Vote for me because that person is heinous. That person is going to be terrible. That person is going to take away everything. This is what we're talking about here. What will happen if Republican is elected president in 2016? Just look at that list. Take a good look. Obamacare repealed. Millions lose coverage they gained. Supreme Court stays pro-corporate for another 20 years. New ground wars in the Middle East. Social Security and Medicare cut dramatically. Minimum wage not raised. Even more tax cuts for the rich. Return to skyrocketing deficits. America, you can't afford to vote Republican. That's pretty scary shit, right? That is pretty scary shit. Well, I could lose my mind. Oh my God, we have so much to lose. We could lose everything. Dear God, man. Are you kidding me? I want to show you something else. If you're so afraid of what you have to lose, no matter who's been in power for the last 40 years, this is what you've been losing. Pay close attention. It says here, basically starting from 1947, right after World War II, wages and GDP were rising more or less together for the next 30 years. More or less. By the time we got to the 1970s, look at what happened. GDP goes through the roof, and our wages stagnate. We get less. Our purchasing power becomes less. Why? Because cost of living just keeps going up, and we don't get any more money. And you're worried about what we might continue to lose. I'm telling you that no matter who's been in power, Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter. We have been losing. We don't really seriously have much of anything left to lose. So why aren't you fighting for the brass ring? Why aren't you going for all of it? Why are you settling for the concept that says we have to resist? We have to resist and destroy and defeat our enemies so that we can keep what little crumbs they allowed us to have to begin with. How can you honestly be satisfied with that? How can you not be on board with single-payer health care? What is so great about the ACA? You are still allowing insurance companies to decide everything. They get to be rich and deny you good health care. For every anecdote you can come up with of someone doing well on the ACA, and thank God that you can find anecdotes. Thank God there are people that have been doing well on the ACA. But others are hurting. And there are still millions that don't even have access to health insurance, which is leading to hundreds of thousands of people dying every year. Either because the insurance company is out of their reach, or because the insurance company wants profit. And if they want profit, they don't care. So they deny. More and more medical professionals are under the boot of the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies and everyone else that is in it to make a buck. It is turning doctors into salesmen, and they want to be doctors. So we have people that die needlessly because of a for-profit healthcare system, and you would fight to preserve it because you're afraid of what else you have to lose. You don't see the fact that you are still losing it. You have been losing it for 40 years. 40 years you have been in loss, steady loss, and you still work your ass off so that the oligarchs can get more and deny you more. This is why many of us fear this. Because this is what it feels like. Regardless of your take, regardless of what you think, many people feel this. Republicans and Democrats, just two wings of the same vulture, each one coming to get you. Ralph Nader put it pretty well. The only difference between the Republican and Democratic parties is the velocities with which their knees hit the floor when corporations knock on their door. That's the only difference. Now, is that the only difference? I'll leave that up to you. But for 40 years, Democrats in power, Republicans in power, it doesn't matter. Our workload goes up, our take-home pay goes down, our purchasing power goes down. We have to take out more and more debt to be able to pay for this economy. And remember, if we don't go into debt, then we can't pay. If we can't pay, that's it for the economy. The economy runs on sales. No sales, no economy. So someone's got to cough up the cash. And if the federal government isn't going to pay sufficiently into the economy to be able to pick up that slack and make sure that we have full employment and ensure that we have good wages and ensure that we can cover our expenses out of our paychecks, then we're going to have to go to banks, credit card companies, predatory lenders, just to be able to handle groceries and transportation and food, housing. Suicides are on the rise. There is death, deprivation, misery everywhere you look. 40 to 60% of the country is in poverty or close to it. You tell me, is that a great nation? And few people are looking to change that. Certainly few people in power. If we accept the posit from Ralph Nader that both parties are bought and sold by the same companies, by the same oligarchs, then we have to stop voting for them. We have to start organizing. And the only way that's going to happen is if we have unity. Everyone wants unity. We have to unite. We have to come together. Come together over what? What specifically are we supposed to come together over? Because here is a wonderful little tweet from Mr. Senator Manchin of West Virginia. We need more Border Patrol agents, drones, towers, ground sensors, thermal imaging, and Black Hawk helicopters at the border to ensure there is complete surveillance. Are you kidding me? That is not a civil society. That is xenophobia. And that's a Democrat. That is a Democrat who wants to be a leader. And he's leading you into the abyss. But we're supposed to unite around Democrats. We're supposed to have a blue wave. Blue no matter who. Well, this is someone who is a blue. And I do not support him. I do not support that. How could anyone? You want a police state. You want police surveillance. That is not cool. That is not civil. That will not stand. And I will not stand behind that. I will fight back against that. I will organize and I will march and I will rabble against that. So how about we do this? How about we unite around commonly held principles of love? Love your neighbor as you love yourself. And if you love your neighbor as you love yourself, well, wouldn't you love yourself to have universal health care? Because you would never have to worry again about a doctor's bill ever. And you're going to get sick. You're going to need it. You're going to use it. It's only a matter of time. Even if you are one of the very fortunate few that never actually has any illness or disease, eventually your body will give out. Eventually you will retire and the body will give out and you will be in a nursing home. Something is going to happen. Or the bus is going to hit you. But it ain't going to kill you. What are you going to do then? You want to be covered. You want peace of mind. If you love your neighbor as you love yourself, universal health care is the only option for that. Single payer. If you're going to live your values, that's where you go. And to hell with how you're going to pay for it. I'll tell you how we're going to pay for it, but if you want to live your values, your pragmatism is best used in the bathroom. Live your values. If you love your neighbor as yourself, well, wouldn't yourself love to have wonderful opportunity without unfair competition? Well, wouldn't it be great, therefore, if you had free college tuition and trade schools and the ability within a system to be able to find where your blessings are, where are your talents, and to have a system that is committed to helping you find it? Because someone who has found their talent and has found a way to bring that talent to society enriches society. We do not enrich society through homelessness. We do not enrich society through people working menial jobs, menial labor. We can automate all that shit. Let us take these people and let us find meaningful work for them. So let's have free college education. Let's have free trade schools. Let's have a federal job guarantee. Let's have dignity in the workplace. You would want that for yourself, so live your values. Forget about the pull yourself up by your own bootstraps bullshit. That is Wild West thinking. We should be moving forward, not looking back. If we only ever accepted what happened before us and tried to recreate that, there would be no airplanes. There would be no cars. Well, when I was a kid, I had to get to my place of business on a pony. Yeah, that's how I did it, and it's the way it should be done every day for the rest of creation. But we don't do that, do we? We move forward. We allow technology to take over manual labor. We keep elevating ourselves. We keep elevating ourselves. We keep finding better and better ways of using our time and our talents to create a better society. Crying about manufacturing going overseas is fruitless. It's pointless. Let it happen, but let it happen as we take the people that have now been displaced and find something for them to do that is meaningful to society, that would also, in fact, be meaningful to them. We can do this. If you have bold vision, it can happen. Live your values. You kind of like your home, huh? Kind of like your neighborhoods, kind of like them not to be bombed to shit. Live your values. And when we have seven, count them, 7 wars going on that we are directly involved in. Even if not with boots on the ground, we are supplying weapons and logistics and manufacturing. We are funding no less than 7 wars. We are destroying communities. If you don't want that to happen to you, live your values and make sure that it doesn't happen in our name. You know why these things don't get advertised on TV? Because they don't want you to know about it. Because you would be horrified if you found out what was happening in Yemen. They don't want you to know. Do you think the oligarchs, do you think the rich, do you think the people that actually make decisions because they're the ones with all the cash? Cash doesn't come from them. It came from the federal government. So why do you think they bought the government? They bought the government so they can make laws specifically detailed to benefit them and not you. Not you. Then they bought the media companies to make sure that you don't find out about it. They bought Democrats and Republicans to give you the illusion of choice. For those of you that have a predisposition to authoritarianism, we have the Republicans. For those of you that have a predisposition to democracy, we'll give you the Democrats, but we won't actually give you democracy. So we have to do it ourselves. Why? Because we allowed it to happen in the first place. That was our fault. It was our fault. We never thought it could happen here. And we still hear that all the time. It can't happen here. What did we hear about Trump when he was running? Don't worry about it. It's just rhetoric. He's not going to do it. Well, he's doing it. But Trump is not the problem. He's in a position to become a problem, a huge problem. But the problem is why he was a viable option to begin with. Everyone that is fighting back against Trump, if that is your only focus, your focus is narrow and it's going to have a body count. You have to look and expand your vision to the whole system that allowed Trump in the first place. Trump is a symptom, a horrible symptom, a disgusting symptom. He is the powerful gastroenterological diarrhea, explosive diarrhea of a symptom. But it's just a symptom. You have to go for the disease if you want to cure the problem. Getting rid of Trump won't cure the problem. It'll feel great, and I want that to happen. I want it to happen badly. But not nearly as bad as I need the system to fundamentally be changed so that Trump can't ever happen again. Trump or someone more likely, more dangerous, more smooth, more suave. It's the system that allowed it to happen. The system that allowed for so much rampant poverty to happen in the richest country in the world. When Nikki Haley says, "How dare you, UN? Look at poverty in the U.S. I say, how dare you, Nikki Haley? How dare you say don't look too closely to what we're doing? We are not the good guys in this country. We're just not. If we were truly the good guys, we wouldn't really have the enemies that we have right now. If we were truly the good guys, there wouldn't be any poverty. And we have the ability to get rid of it like that. Congress simply has to decide we are going to target full employment. Full employment. Everyone gets a job that wants one, and it's going to be a good paying job with benefits. In fact, we're going to give us single payer health care so that everyone has it. There are so many things that need to be done, but as soon as Congress decides that it cares about us more than it cares about big business, then it happens. The money they spend on the military, that can be spent on us. And be very clear about this. I am not suggesting for a second that we need to stop funding the military before we do the things that we need to do. Because the federal government neither has nor does not have cash. It creates new dollars every time it spends. So while it's spending on the military, give the boys their toys so that we don't have to have a fight about it. We will also give single-payer health care and a federal job guarantee and free college tuition. Oh, by the way, we're going to go 100% green energy right now. We have the tools. We simply need to update the grid. We have to give the infrastructure, and that just takes money, and money is not a problem to a federal government sovereign in its own currency. We don't have to make choices before we make choices. We don't have to tighten our belt federally. We simply have to make priorities. And right now, you and I, we're not the priorities. So we got to change that. That is rule number one. We change it. But in the case of unity, if we don't want to have this guy being in charge of anything, we're going to have to teach people how finance actually works at the federal government, on the federal level. Because if we don't, it's going to be more of the same. If we don't, we're going to get this. We always are told voting has consequences. So pick one. You want a Republican? You want a Democrat? Either way, you're dead. Question is it going to be a quick death or a slow, painful one? Quite honestly, I think the choices should have been swapped, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, there's no getting away from this. And it didn't matter who was in power. It didn't matter if it was a Democrat or a Republican. We lost. We lost. 40 years of losing, and it's time we stopped fighting to retain what little is left. It's time that we started standing up and saying, I know about federal appropriations. I know where the dollar comes from. I know who creates it. You don't need our tax dollars. That is a lie. That is a lie you have perpetrated on us to make sure that we fight against each other so that we don't have unity. So that we can unify against one, unify behind one or the other of you guys. The rich people look down on us and they laugh. Thank God they're fighting amongst themselves. They don't have the strength or the time to be able to mount a challenge against our power. Everyone who asks, how are you going to pay for that? You're playing their game. Everyone who says, we can't afford, you're playing their game. Everyone who says, now is not the time to be able to fight, you're playing their game. You are playing a losing game. A losing game. The game that got us this for 40 years. This is what was going on for 40 years. This is the history of people saying now is not the time. This is the history of saying how you're going to pay for it. This is the history of saying the rich are going to have to pay their fair share so that we can have X, Y, and Z. And you want to continue that. That is a losing proposition. You're not a loser. You just don't know. You don't know any better. I get it. Because there was a time when I didn't know any better either. When the 2016 election happened, I was one of you. My head exploded, and I had to get rid of that man with... It was the single most important thing that could possibly happen. Not only did it need to happen, not only did it need to happen soon, but it had to happen very openly, very publicly. It had to be humiliating. It had to be painful. It was so important that it be a humiliating removal from office. As a warning, as a lesson, don't ever try that shit again. Now let's not kid ourselves. If there's an opportunity for that to happen, I will be right there. Because you don't get to act like that man has acted his entire life, only getting worse with age, and then be rewarded the highest office in the land so that he can take the skills that he acquired over a lifetime of rape and pillage, both literal and figurative, and then rape and pillage with a much greater reach. But I have since learned and discovered that as badly as he needs to go, the system needs to go even worse. The system that allowed him to happen, the system that allowed for the conditions for people to be so desperate, to be so monumentally bereft of hope and possibility that they would rather vote for Trump than same old, same old. I don't care what your opinions are of Hillary Clinton. I don't care. Do not bring them to me. They will fall on deaf ears. That is not the conversation we need to be having, except to say this. People were so desperate that they turned to a man they should have understood but did not, but certainly understood that the Democrats did not want them to succeed. They wanted you to think that they wanted you to believe. Does that make sense? And neither do the Republicans. But of the two non-establishment candidates, Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump, there was a huge amount of fire for both of them. And none whatsoever for the status quo politician class of the Republicans or the Democrats. The people that marched for Hillary, the people that marched for, well, there wasn't really anyone to march for on the Republicans. Trump pretty much took it from the beginning. But Jesus Christ, even Jeb Bush's own mother couldn't really come out and give a really rousing, yes, you've got to go for Jeb. Even his own mother. That's got to hurt. That shit's got to fester. But just imagine how the country felt. How so much of the country, especially in the middle part of the country, people that understood that same old, any blue just won't do. To have people like Nancy Pelosi say, we're not going to have single payer, it's not going to happen, we're capitalists, and that's the way it is. Sit down, Nancy. Jesus Christ. You don't hear shit like that from real progressives like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who just won in New York's 14th. Now that is a real progressive. That is someone who has a clear vision. She has inspired her constituents. She has inspired a great deal of the country. She is aspirational. She is telling us what real progressives has been telling you. All the things that we could have if we fought for it. If you understand how government finance functions. Look up Stephanie Kelton. Look up Warren Mosler, Mike Norman, Ellis Winningham, Dr. Joe Firestone, Randy Ray. The list goes on. Look up these people. Look up deficit owls. Research modern monetary truth. Technically, if you're doing a Google search, you've never heard of this, it's modern monetary theory. But it's the truth. It's not just a theory. It is an accurate description of how our currency works. And if you understand that, if you understand that the federal government is a sovereign government, it controls its own currency, that it can never go broke. It can never run out of money. It can never become insolvent. It can never be unable to pay its bills. And the debt, as denominated in US dollars, is laughable. If you want to say the debt and the deficit is a problem, no, I will say that homelessness is a problem. I will say that suicide going on the rise is a problem. I will say that 300,000 people dying every year, that is a problem. I will say that 7 military conflicts that we are currently engaged in over the world, over oil, is a problem. I will say that global warming is a problem. The debt and the deficit is not a problem. To a sovereign nation that creates its own currency, Article 1, Section 8, look it up. It says, amongst other things, that Congress, and only Congress, creates the currency. It shall set its value, and it shall enforce the need for that currency through taxation. I've done many streams explaining this. Please refer to them. But just understand, ask yourself this one question. If the United States creates its own currency, why does it need your tax dollars? If the United States creates its own currency and is no longer on a gold standard, it is a free-floating fiat currency, why would it need your tax dollars for anything? For absolutely anything. There are reasons why it needs your tax dollars. I'm talking about anything for spending. Why would it need your tax dollars for spending? Just ask yourself that question. Ask other people that question. Push them. Try to come up with a response. If you had the ability to create all the money you would ever want, why would you need that money back? If you had the ability in your basement to create your own currency and everywhere would accept it as payment for goods and services, and you could just keep printing out as much of it as you want, why would you ever need anyone's currency? You wouldn't. Now, before anyone accuses me of saying that MMT says nothing more than the fact that the federal government can keep printing money and that's it, willy-nilly into the future, sorry, you're not going to get that out of me. There are restrictions. There are restrictions. And the restriction is our real resources. We are in a resource economy. We are not fiscally constrained. The federal government doesn't care how much something costs. At least it's not supposed to care. What the federal government is supposed to care about is, can we do X, Y, and Z? Let's take single-payer health care. It's kind of what I do. Single-payer health care. You say, for example, that you want to have everyone to be able to have health care. Everyone, everywhere in the country, womb to tomb, everything is covered. You will not receive a single bill for anything that happens. And everything is covered. 100%. Fair enough. Well, that's ambitious. And it's good to be ambitious when we're talking about public purpose. So you're going to do that. So someone might say, well, how are you going to pay for that? That's going to be rather expensive. And the federal government says, I don't care how much it costs. I create the currency. If we say it's going to cost $500 billion, I got it right here. I will just simply say, we're going to pay $500 billion for this, and boom, the money now exists. It didn't before I made the decision. It does now. The federal government is the god of money. It is the god of US dollars. I say unto thee that we shall do these things, and it shall cost $500 billion, and yea, the money came into fruition. That's how it works. Congress makes a bill, the president signs it, and the Treasury Department and the Federal Reserve work in tandem to make it happen. That's it. They don't go reaching into your pockets before they do something. And they don't go reaching into your pockets after they've done it to be reimbursed. It doesn't happen that way. But it sure feels like it does, doesn't it? It's been going on for so long, we don't really understand. It's like the chicken and the egg. Which one came first? The federal government has to spend first before you have money to be able to pay your taxes in. So they spend first. That's how money is created. That's how wealth is created. So what the federal government does, in fact, ask is not so much how much is it going to cost. They have to know. So they're going to get experts together and they're going to find out exactly how much it's going to cost, not because they need to know, because they might not be able to afford it. Of course they can afford it. It doesn't matter. Costs $1 trillion. They can afford it. It doesn't matter. What matters is, do they have the real resources to be able to get it done? What really matters to the federal government is, do we have the concrete, the steel, the clinics, the hospitals? Do we have the doctors, the nurses, the technical staff, the pharmaceutical companies, the medical manufacturing companies? Do we have everything in place to be able to say that now we shall have single-payer health care, everything is covered, womb to tomb, that's all it takes, we're going to get it done, here's the check, get it done. That's what matters. Do we have the resources? If we don't have the resources, that's not the end of the argument. That is the beginning of the argument. Okay, fine. So we don't actually have everything that we need. Well, now we want to find out, can we marshal our existing resources to be able to get that done? We don't have all the hospitals. We'll have to actually build some hospitals. Fair enough then. Do we have the raw materials to build more hospitals? Maybe we'll have to retrofit some buildings. Maybe we'll build some new ones. Who knows? Do we have the materials to be able to do it? Do we have the labor, the idle labor to get it done? Do we have the architects? Do we have the engineers? Do we have the manual labor? Do we have the machines? Do we have the concrete, the steel to get it done? The answer is yes. Fantastic. Now we spend the money necessary to be able to get that done. Well, let's say that the actual answer is still no. All right, well, fine. We actually don't have X, Y, and Z. And we don't have enough within the country to be able to get that done. Well, we are also a net importer. We actually enjoy the resources of the rest of the world as well. We're kind of a dick about it, but we do have it. So the question now becomes, can we import the resources we would need to be able to afford all this, to be able to do all this? And if the answer is yes, then we import it. Then we actually can marshal our resources that way. If the answer is still no, well, now we have our first real stumbling block. Because now we're saying that either the resources do not exist anywhere, or they do exist, but they're in private hands. We don't have enough construction companies. All the construction companies are currently involved in other projects, and it's going to take time to be able to wrest them away. Well, federal government can either outbid the private sector, or it can wait. As they come online, we'll start getting more and more things. Maybe it just means that it'll take a little bit longer. Or maybe it's a question of steel. Who knows? But the question should always be about resources. Do we have the resources? Because as soon as the answer is yes, that's it. That's the ball game. Now the federal government can get it done. Because the only thing the federal government cares about is, can it do it? Not about how much it costs to do it. It cares about, can it? So the question we have to ask is, Do we have a federal government with bold vision? Do we have a federal government that can use that bold vision for the public purpose, that wants to be able to look to the lesser among us, that wants to be able to build a great society, that doesn't simply want to build a firewall between the rich people and protect them and all their cash and keep funneling money towards the rich people and not really giving a shit what happens to everyone else? That's our responsibility. That's us. If you're hoping that you're going to get blue no matter who and suddenly it's going to get done, I'm really sorry about that. But that's not going to happen. Because blue no matter who gets us that. That's what blue no matter who is. And we can't afford any more of that. Because we got people dying right now in this country. We have got human rights atrocities happening right now in this country. We are dropping bombs on other countries, and it's happening right now. And did I mention we have a global warming problem? Did I mention that we might not actually have time to be able to accomplish the things that we want? Because the planet may not be habitable any longer? That's what this gets us. So we need bold vision. We need desperately to have a progressive agenda put forward. We need to have people in place to be able to engage and be able to accomplish that. And that takes us. And we have to be smarter about it. We can't simply accept, well, I'm going to run as a Democrat. And then we all go, yay! We've got a Democrat to run. That is not sufficient. 360 million people in the country, and the only ones that were available and ready and willing to run was a small handful, and no one liked them. That is insufficient. So look to your own districts. Surely there must be someone in there that has a progressive idea, that wants to get it done, that wants to fight for it. We have to nurture that. It is our responsibility, just as the federal government has to look to the real resources of the country to determine whether or not it can do something. We have to look to our own districts. Do we have the real resources in candidates to be able to get a progressive agenda done? Yes? Boom. Vote for them. Fight for them. Do not accept for less than them. And then hold them accountable every second of every day. Do not let them give up. Do not let them be bought and paid for. If the answer is no, well, can we marshal our resources? No one currently willing to run. Will you run? Will you find someone who will run? Will you nurture them? Will you talk to them? Look, you've got great charisma. You've got great this. You've got great that. Let's talk about the direction this country is going in. Let's see what we can do about it. And as I inflame the passions within you, maybe you will be the one that runs. Let's marshal our resources. Now, I know the next part's going to be not quite so popular about importing our resources, but look, if you're in a red state, God knows we've had carpetbaggers before. I'm not really big on it, but let's get real about something here. If we're talking about Congress, people say, that town halls are taken over, and I should know something about town halls, but they say that they're taken over, outside agitators, paid actors, God knows I've been called that a time or two. But the thing is, if you're running for city council, chances are the decisions that you make, the ramifications of which will end at your town's borders. That's it. But the farther up that political food chain you go, the more ramifications are going to be more global. So if you're running for Congress, The decisions you will make will have ripple effects throughout the entire country. Single-payer health care, that will affect the entire country, just like voting for the ACA will affect the entire country. Just like taking away the ACA will affect the entire country. So quite honestly, I don't have any patience for the idea of, I can't vote for you, you're not from this district. I'm not saying that shouldn't be a consideration. It should absolutely be a consideration. It should be a huge consideration. It should not be the be-all, end-all. Because the decisions they're going to make are going to affect you, absolutely. But the people in the district, by and large, represent the people that are going to have something to do about you. To either celebrate you and vote you in, or defame you and vote you out. That's about the extent of it. But from Congress, House of Representatives, and of course Senate, their reach, the ramifications of them, stretch far beyond the borders of the district that voted for them. So I have no problems with people coming to a town hall and getting up and speaking. If you're in Utah and you want to go to a California town hall rally and speak to someone there and get up in front of the crowd and give that congressperson a piece of your mind, absolutely. Why not? The votes they are making are affecting the people in Utah. Why should Utah just sit idly by and yell at a television screen? They should also engage their own representatives. But if they have an opportunity to engage with someone who is actively trying to oppose them, their ability to live their lives, I think they should be afforded that right. I don't think it should be anything to blink twice about. I'm not really sure if that's an expression, but it is now. We have to be able to come together. Absolutely. We have to be able to have unity. Absolutely. But be very careful about what you unify behind. DNC lawyers argue DNC has right to pick candidates in back rooms. This is what people want us to unite against, to unite behind. Vote blue no matter who. Later in the hearing, attorneys representing the DNC claimed that the Democratic National Committee would be well within their rights to go into back rooms like they used to and smoke cigars and pick the candidate that way. That is not something to unite behind. So if you're asking me for unity, if you're asking me to get behind the Democrats, I am a Democrat. I am registered as a Democrat. I am part of the Democratic Committee in my district. And it is my fervent hope that we will be able to make huge changes from within the party. But I have no idea if Dem enter or Dem exit is the right way to go. But this I know for sure. This I know in my bones. I will not ever be loyal to a party. Not the existing parties, nor any new party that might come. You will never be able to earn my loyalty. The very idea is anathema to democracy. You will never be able to earn my loyalty. And if you're a politician, God help you if you ever ask for loyalty. You can ask for my vote, but you shouldn't even do that. You should earn my vote. It should be hard. You should have to work hard to earn every vote. You are owed nothing. Absolutely nothing. I don't care who you are, how long you've been on the scene, or if you're a newcomer, you are owed nothing. You owe the people everything. It is your job, it is your responsibility to earn the vote every time. And if you can't do that, it's not anyone else's fault. Do you understand? It is not anyone else's fault. You win or you lose on your merits alone. No one else is ever to blame. I don't give a shit about Russians. I'm not saying they didn't involve themselves. I'm not saying they didn't have an impact. I'm saying if you have a bold vision, I'm saying if you speak to the people, if you are aspirational, if you tell them that you're going to get them out of the shitstorm that they've been in for 40 years and then follow through, there's nothing any other aspect of the government can do. There's nothing the Russians can do. There is nothing that Soros can do. There is nothing the Koch brothers can do. Everyone is responsible for their own losses. Everyone is responsible for their own victories. So take responsibility. Fight for the people. Be a champion. Be aspirational. Be loving. Or we will find someone more worthy. I promise you that. 360 million people in this country. We'll find someone else. Guaranteed. So, that's it for right now. Savage Joy is on in just a moment. I love you guys. Take care of one another. Why? Because we're all we have. Love your neighbor as yourself. So live your values. You do that, and we will be fine. I promise you. Take care. Be back next week. Bye-bye.